From couch potato to fitness fanatic, my journey with treadmills. She stood in front of the treadmill like it was an old enemy, heart pounding before she even pressed start. Something had to change today. For months, she'd been telling herself the same story. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow she'd finally commit, but tomorrow kept turning into next week, then next month. The couch had become her safety zone. Comfortable, predictable, demanding nothing from her. But comfort had a cost she was only beginning to understand. Her doctor's words still echoed from that Tuesday morning appointment. Not alarming, but clear. Her blood pressure was creeping up. Her energy was fading. Her body was sending signals she could no longer ignore. She wasn't looking for perfection. She just wanted to feel like herself again. That version of her that used to climb stairs without losing breath. That laughed without feeling exhausted. The treadmill seemed like the obvious answer. Everyone said it was easy. Just walk. Just move. How hard could it be? Harder than she thought. The first week was brutal. Not because of the physical pain, though her legs ached in ways she'd forgotten existed, but because of the mental resistance. Every morning felt like negotiating with a stubborn child inside her head. She'd bargain. Just 10 minutes. That's all. 10 minutes wouldn't change anything anyway, right? But what happened next surprised her. Those 10 minutes became 15. Not because she forced it, but because something shifted. The rhythm of her feet hitting the belt became almost meditative, a space where thoughts could finally settle. Researchers at Stanford found something similar in their studies on routine and mental health. When movement meets consistency, the brain starts rewiring its relationship with stress and motivation. She didn't know the science then. She just knew that for those 15 minutes the world felt manageable again, but progress never moves in straight lines. 3 weeks in, she hit a wall. Not physically, mentally. The novelty had worn off. The treadmill became just another obligation. Another thing on the list that felt heavy before she even started. Part of her wanted to quit. The old voice crept back in. See, you're not a fitness person, this isn't you. She almost believed it. Then came the moment that changed everything. She was scrolling through her phone, avoiding the treadmill in the corner, when she stumbled across an interview with an ultra-marathon runner. The interviewer asked what kept him going during the hardest miles. His answer was simple, almost disappointing in its simplicity. I don't think about the finish line, I think about the next step. Something clicked. She'd been measuring her worth by some imaginary destination, some version of herself that existed in a fitness magazine, but that wasn't real. The only thing real was whether she showed up today. The next morning, she didn't think about becoming a fitness fanatic. She didn't even think about the full 30 minutes she'd planned. She thought about tying her shoes, then pressing start, then 1 minute, and another. Somewhere in that shift, the burden lifted. The treadmill stopped being a test she could fail. It became a conversation with her body. Some days it said, let's go hard. Other days it whispered, just walk slow today. She learned to listen. What surprised her most wasn't just how a simple heart rate monitor improved her experience with tracking progress, but how everything started to feel different once she switched to the right approach. She wasn't expecting such a clear change, and honestly, she experimented more than a few times before she figured out what really worked for her body. This isn't a promotion, just sharing real observations that made a noticeable difference in staying consistent. I'll leave some thoughts below if you want to explore what I mean. But the real transformation wasn't about technology or gear. It was about identity. She started seeing herself differently, not as someone trying to become fit, but as someone who moves, someone who shows up, someone who honors her body instead of punishing it. The shift was subtle but seismic. Friends started noticing, not just the physical changes, though those came too, her energy, her presence, the way she carried herself with a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. They asked what she was doing. She almost felt embarrassed telling them, just walking on a treadmill. It sounded too simple, too ordinary, but ordinary was the point. She'd spent years chasing extraordinary transformations, dramatic before and after stories, quick fixes and 30-day challenges. All of them left her feeling more defeated than inspired. This was different. This was sustainable. This was real. There were still hard days. Mornings when the treadmill felt like a mountain. Weeks when life got chaotic and consistency slipped. She learned those weren't failures. They were just part of being human. What would you do in that moment? When motivation fades and the old patterns whisper their familiar lies, she learned to show up anyway. Not with enthusiasm, not with Instagram-worthy joy, just with presence, just with commitment to the next step. Researchers studying habit formation call this implementation intention. It's the difference between wanting to exercise and deciding exactly when and how you'll move. She didn't know the term then. She just knew that scheduling her treadmill time like an important meeting made it happen more consistently than hoping for motivation. The breathing moments came too. Days when she'd step off the treadmill and just sit, feeling her heartbeat slow, noticing the sweat on her skin, appreciating what her body could do rather than judging what it couldn't. Progress didn't always look like progress. Some weeks the scale didn't move. Some months felt like treading water instead of moving forward, but she was learning a deeper truth about transformation. It's not linear. It's not photogenic. It's not even always visible from the outside. But it's happening. In the quiet accumulation of small choices, in the relationship you build with yourself when no one's watching. 6 months in, something shifted that she hadn't expected. The treadmill became her sanctuary, not because she loved every second of it, but because it was hers. A space where she didn't have to be anyone for anyone, where she could be messy and sweaty and imperfect, where she could just be. Her doctor noticed at the next checkup, blood pressure down, energy up. But he also noticed something else. She seemed lighter somehow, not just in weight, but in spirit. She laughed when he said it, because it was true. Somewhere between the failures and the quiet mornings, she'd found rhythm and peace. The comparison trap that used to suffocate her had loosened its grip. She stopped scrolling through fitness accounts that made her feel inadequate. She stopped measuring her worth against someone else's highlight reel. She had her own story now, unglamorous and real and hers. Then came the injury, minor, but enough to sideline her for 2 weeks. An ankle that protested one morning and demanded rest. Part of her panicked. This was it. The excuse she'd been waiting for to quit. Proof that her body wasn't meant for this. But another part, the part that had been quietly growing stronger, knew better. Rest wasn't failure. Rest was wisdom. Rest was listening. Rest was part of the journey, not the end of it. She spent those 2 weeks stretching, walking slowly, honoring the healing process. And when she stepped back on the treadmill, something had deepened. Her commitment wasn't fragile anymore. It wasn't dependent on perfect circumstances or uninterrupted momentum. It was rooted in something more durable: self-respect, self-care, self-trust. The transformation people saw on the outside had taken months, but the transformation on the inside was happening in moments, small decisions, tiny victories, quiet courage. She started sharing her journey, not as inspiration, but as solidarity. For everyone else standing in front of their own treadmill, their own mountain, their own fear, she told them the truth. It's hard. It's boring sometimes. It's not always beautiful or breakthrough-worthy, but it's worth it. Not because you'll become someone else, but because you'll become more yourself. The version that keeps promises to your own body. The version that doesn't need motivation to show up. The version that knows consistency matters more than intensity. Neuroscientists studying habit formation found that it takes longer than we think to rewire neural pathways. Not 21 days, more like 60 to 90. And even then, the work isn't done. It's just embedded deeper. She was living proof. The treadmill wasn't a tool anymore, it was part of her identity, like morning coffee or evening walks. Something she did because it was who she was becoming. Looking back now, she barely recognizes that woman who stood trembling in front of the treadmill months ago. Not because she looks different, though she does, but because she feels different. Stronger, yes, but also softer, more patient with herself, more compassionate with her limits, more curious about what her body could do rather than ashamed of what it couldn't. She learned that fitness isn't about punishment. It's not about earning your meals or burning off mistakes. It's about celebration, about gratitude, about moving because you can, not because you have to. The people in her life noticed the ripple effects. She had more energy for her kids, more presence for her partner, more creativity at work, more capacity for joy. All because she decided to take one step, then another, then another. Sometimes we only understand strength when it's tested, when motivation disappears and only commitment remains, when the world gets heavy and movement becomes medicine. When she looked in the mirror again, it wasn't her reflection that had changed. It was what she believed about herself, what she knew she was capable of, what she'd proven through quiet consistency and unglamorous repetition. She was no longer the couch potato who dreamed of someday. She was the person who showed up, who moved, who chose herself over and over again. And if you're standing where she once stood, wondering if you can do it too, she'd tell you this. You don't need to be ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to tie your shoes, press start, take one step, and then another. The journey from couch potato to fitness fanatic isn't about dramatic transformation. It's about gentle revolution. One choice at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time. Tell us what part of this story resonated most and where you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.